Well, hi everyone and welcome to NPE Secrets of Their Fitness Business Success podcast. Today I'm joined by Jess Cross, who's in New South Wales, but I'll let you share with what your business name is and where you're located and the types of clients you serve on the call here, Jess. But thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for that, Rick. Yes, so my name is Jess Cross. I have a outdoor and PT studio in Mossman, New South Wales. So yeah, my business is called Sportive Personal Training. We sort of deal with a whole range of clients from young teenage girls all the way through up to some of our members are in their sort of late 70s. And yeah, we sort of see, oops, sorry, my daughter just poured my water bottle everywhere. So yeah, sort of see a wide range of clients, whether it's training for an event or rehabilitation or just general everyday fitness.
Yeah, great. Well, and what I can't wait to dive into this with you because clearly you do have a young daughter, which is awesome, and lots of people listening to this are struggling with how they can juggle work and life, especially with the whole COVID-19 situation, whether they're in lockdown or even if they're not, schools are closed, some are open. How do they actually make this work? So looking forward to diving into this with you. Before we get into that side of things, so let's talk about prior to NPE. Where was the business? What did it look like at that stage before you got on board with us?
Yeah, so I joined NPE at the beginning of this year. It's sort of the end of February. I sort of felt a little bit stuck on, where my business, even though we were having a bit of growth, sort of just felt like, I just kind of needed a bit of direction on, generating leads and getting sort of proper systems in place because I was sort of starting to hire new clients. So sort of since February to now, just even though I've been going through things at my own pace, just putting those systems in place has really kind of helped set up all the foundations, and the growth that I've kind of had since it pretty much doubled my sales per month since joining NPE. And then trying to get that sort of work-life balance back. Like, as you know, I've got a daughter and wanting to spend time with her. So I've sort of been able to take Saturdays off and sort of, take that little bit of a step back, but still involved, heavily in the business, but giving that time to myself.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'm going to ask you some more questions about that. I remembered on one of our earlier calls, Jess, we were reviewing your website and how your online presence was. What was that like having, it's always a bit scary, right? Having someone look at the stuff that you've got out there with social media and online. But I remember that call distinctly because you took away a lot of great info and then made those changes. What was that experience like for you getting your online presence assessed and given feedback?
That was really I think that was really helpful. And then also having, whether it's the getting race ready or the laser coaching calls every week, just being able to share something just simple as sharing my screen with other people on the call who can give feedback on things that you might not necessarily see, but then also using some of the NPE partners like 97 Display, and speaking with them and them giving me guidance on things that do and don't work to help attract new members, because that's where I was sort of feeling stuck, was that I wasn't getting a lot of, even though a lot of my referrals have been and clients have been through word of mouth, my website wasn't really generating a whole lot.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute, because as you said, you felt like you were a bit stuck. You were sort of getting the occasional client, but as everyone does, losing the occasional clients are really at a plateau point. But then, as you mentioned, since February 2020, and where are we now? We're in September. You've doubled your sales, and there's been some significant other changes that have occurred in the business as well. So what about the physical locations, online locations, outdoor locations? How has that all morphed over this period of time?
Yeah, so I started my business pretty much 4 years ago today, and it was all outdoors. So it was a way for me to keep costs low. I didn't have any overheads or anything like that. So, I'd purchased all the outdoor equipment outright and sort of, my whole journey has kind of been just growing through that, and saving all that kind of money to go towards my sort of goal, which was to open a PT studio. And then so then I was outside for just over 3 years, and then November of 2019 I then opened a studio, and then that's just kind of given my existing clients, even though I had PT clients before, it's helped me upsell a lot of existing members into PT, just having things like barbells and dumbbells and all the sort of different cardio equipment there. It's just kind of added a little something a little bit different for a lot of those members, because they're sort of used to training outdoors. Even though we do use a lot of equipment out there, it just sort of, I found that has been the best thing to help with my growth. And then it's also then kind of attracted a lot of new members who, don't like outdoor training, but like the fact that we do say PT. So that's also been, been something that's helped kind of grow the business. So we have a PT studio now where we do all of our one-on-one. We're doing a lot more semi-privates than what we were before. So they're the kind of big changes that have been made over the 4 years.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because a lot of people who have had that traditional bigger group or boot camp or just the typical group classes, I guess, that a lot of commercial gyms have, then there's been a real shift from that, because not everyone wants to be in that group environment, especially going through the sort of corona epidemic or pandemic, I should say. You just mentioned that you've doubled your sales, every month in terms of what you're doing. And there'll be a lot of people thinking, well, how did she do that during this whole COVID situation when there's all this fear and stress and worry? What did you actually do, and what were the significant changes to what you'd been doing previously that enabled you to get those results, Jess?
I think probably one of the biggest kind of things that helped me sort of survive, and I guess you never really know what can happen, but just being prepared was my thing. I sort of had a few clients that decided to sort of isolate that little bit earlier, so I just kind of took it upon myself to kind of get all the systems in place with Zoom, and I basically just set up every group.
Oh, we've just lost you, Jess. Sorry, it's just gone really quiet. Can I just hear you?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, that's much better.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. So, should I start again? Or?
No, that's okay. You were saying you implemented Zoom, and you had some.
So we implemented Zoom. So for my existing members, the thought of being outside wasn't really a big issue, because we hadn't had our studio for that long. So that was for our PT clients to go outside, that wasn't much of an issue. And then because some of the bigger gyms were closing, a lot of those people were looking for an alternative to train outside. And kind of feel like in the area that I'm in, not a lot of gyms offered a great outdoor option or an online option. So I was able to use that to my advantage, and so that was quite good in that respect. And then we started doing some online classes for those clients that didn't feel comfortable even being in an outdoor sort of setting. So we set that up, and then it was then another week that then everything had to go online. So we moved all of our groups and semi-private clients online. And then for our one-on-one clients, those that sort of felt comfortable because we could still train one-on-one clients outside, we still offered that option. Or if they felt more comfortable on Zoom, we did it via Zoom. So I think for the feedback from my members, the fact that I sort of always kept them updated with everything that was going on, whether it was from Fitness Australia or New South Wales Health, they were really appreciative for that. And just the fact that I turned things around pretty quick. I think maybe some other gyms maybe were a bit too slow to react, and then people kind of cancelling their memberships or wanting to put them on hold until things change, which I did get some people like that, but after a while they sort of, kind of just started to come back because they were getting, going sort of stir crazy just being inside and things like that. But I think, and then just also the support from NPE and, just keeping accountable to coming to the, the weekly calls and, bouncing or, hearing other people's, struggles and triumphs and, implementing some of the things that worked for, other people across to your own business, I think has just been something that's really, really helped.
It's interesting you said there at the start that that your members, they really appreciated your communication and being able to keep them up to date with what was going on. And you also, as you said, pivoted really quickly because you recognised that that there's going to be a challenge there with some of them, which is brilliant, right? You were able to embrace that. A lot of people listening to this, maybe some have, or maybe some waited a bit too long, or maybe some haven't actually done it yet. How has that been for you, to having that as an online service delivery? How did you find that experience? And clearly you had to learn different ways of doing things and ways of being able to over deliver. Just share a little bit more about how that all worked, Jess.
I think it just adds another, or now it certainly adds another element to your business. I mean, I have now clients, when they say have a COVID test and can't come and see us, even though it's, say, a negative result, but they've got to isolate for say 3 days. Clients are still wanting to train. I feel fortunate that clients are still wanting to train via Zoom. They're just not coming into the studio. And then things like, say, school holidays, where I previously would have, or like people going on holidays, are now kind of liking the idea that they could just pack a TRX or a weight in their bag or what have you, and we can just connect at this, pretty much depending on, I mean, obviously international travel's not an option at the moment, but depending on the time difference, just kind of adjusting the time. So a lot of clients, that I previously would have paused their payments for going on holidays and things like that, I haven't had to do. So then I've noticed, my cash or my sales are a lot higher than, especially this past school holidays we just had, because I normally have a lot of members going to sort of Europe for the summer, and that's sometimes 4 weeks worth of memberships that go on hold there. So having that option, and even now that people are maybe only going away for a week, they're happy to kind of connect on Zoom and do the sessions.
I mean, that's super powerful, isn't it? If anyone who's in a personal training or semi-private space, or who's wanting to move into that, because a lot of people are shifting their model away from that larger group. But that's massive, isn't it? Because that cash flow impact of holidays, and generally you're working with people who are more affluent, have disposable income. So they're the ones who do travel or at least go on holiday a lot more. So that's massive. Have you been able to quantify sort of what the difference has been in terms of your yearly revenue from that, or what it's saved you or meant that you can continue to get that cash in?
So, kind of just going off, like I actually just kind of did my tax sort of return and just kind of looking at the projections, just from even just following the NPE Cash Dash tool, it's going to be kind of an extra sort of 250,000 a year, not just from like those people not being on holidays, but from the new members. So it's kind of a big big change.
It's 250,000. I mean, it's massive, right? That's huge. It's additional to what you were doing before. I mean, that's really exciting. And I know during this time as well, you've brought on some new team members to support you, so that, as you mentioned a few minutes ago, you can have that work-life balance as well, and you don't have to train on Saturdays, which was one of your goals, I remember when we first spoke. What's that been like, bringing them on board and having to let go of some of those things that sometimes we don't want to, right? Because it's our baby. And tell us a little bit about that.
I think it's something that I'll always struggle with because it's, something that I created, and obviously it was just me when I first started, and, for a couple of years. And then as I've grown, sort of added, sort of, two other sort of, personal trainers into the mix. And then I sort of have separate yoga and Pilates instructors, but their kind of, involvement is a little bit, a little bit less, like they're only kind of doing a couple of hours per week. But that's another thing with NPE as well, just kind of giving me that support, because that's kind of my weaker side of things, is just sort of leadership. I'm just somebody that's a doer, and I feel bad to say no to to clients. And I'm slowly just trying, that's one thing that I'm really trying to work on is not just trying to get the sale, that I take it, that I always have to take it on, and trying to offload a lot of that load. Like, I mean, I still do work in the business, like I still do like 35 hours of PT at the moment, including groups. But like, I'm obviously wanting to take that step back, but working with like yourself and Rachel, just giving me tools to kind of help slowly kind of come back and let the other staff sort of take on more responsibility of training people and getting out there, getting new clients, not just all being on me.
And that's an awesome thing. I mean, it's worth pausing for a second, isn't it? Vast majority of fitness businesses have really struggled through this pandemic, and a lot of them, unfortunately, have had to close and probably not going to reopen. But during that time, for you, you've grown, you've added 250,000 in terms of your yearly revenue to your existing revenue. And you've been able to not only keep your staff, but now you're continuing to provide them with more hours as well, so that they're happy, because a lot of staff members lost their job, didn't they? Because the facility closes down. Well, there's no work. So that's huge that you've been able to do that. It's really impressive.
Yeah, no, I think it's been, I kind of just feel, lucky, because I guess you just never know what can happen. But I think just having a supportive team behind you as well makes a big difference, and having the right people with you. I kind of just really believe, hiring good, people that are just good people, and, teaching them how you want to do things is kind of easy, but just making sure you've got those good, good quality people with you.
It's something we talk about a lot, isn't it? You hire on personality and attitude, and obviously they need to have basic qualifications and those sorts of things, for some a lot experience as well. But it's aligning them to the core values of the business, isn't it? Which is so critical. As you said, they've got to be good people, and that's how that you've been able to develop that community just within your team has been really good.
It's definitely a hard thing to it's not easy, and that's like one thing that I kind of struggle with, because you want to be their friend and make it a great place to work, but then just trying to set the boundaries of being professional, and and all just kind of working together, and just having people that are kind of passionate about what your goal of the business is, and achieving what they want out of their career as a personal trainer.
Well, that's a significant difference, isn't it? Because lots of businesses, it's almost as if, sometimes you are competing, aren't you? Because it's not really structured well, but you've been able to structure it so that they have bought into the vision, and they love what you're doing and love the learning and an opportunity that you've been able to give them, and everyone is pulling in the right direction. How much of that has come down to having the right systems, as you said earlier, as well as having the right people?
I think one thing that I did during lockdown was try to create I guess what I'd call like a standard operating procedures, and just little things for me when I was on my own are in my head, and is just kind of inbuilt into me how I want things to be done. And it's something that I have learned over the years of having different people working with me, is just trying to have that clear communication. And because a lot the members are so used to how I would do things, just something as small as like how you set up, say, a group class, that makes a big difference. And, making sure that the staff, that they're introducing, members to other members, and making everyone feel, welcome, and, not having this, kind of intimidating environment that they're walking into, making sure that it's, this, a fun and enjoyable place to train. And I think just little things like, just little customers, like kind of just the basics.
Yeah.
Which I think a lot of people don't know how to do. And, getting trainers, to, message clients after, whether it is a PT session or a group class, giving them that, feedback and encouragement and accountability, to how they're going. And, and then so people that, might not be turning up as often, sending them a message. Like I had one girl who I hadn't seen in about a week and a half, and I sort of sent her a message, and like she just wrote back to me just then, and sent me this long text just saying how grateful, how thankful, she was that I'd thought of her and messaged her, and she actually hadn't been feeling well, and how she was kind of feeling about coming back to training, and could I help her with something. So I think just like those little things, and I think that's also kind of been what has sort of helped me as well through this, is just always having that constant contact, members and and staff.
And you mentioned that earlier, Min, in terms of your communication with the members, not just around COVID, but as you've just explained, that over delivery, isn't it? It's really showing them that you genuinely care, and those touch points after the sessions, because it's, as you said, it's relatively, most people are focused on what happens in the session, aren't they, and delivering great value, which is obviously an important part of it. But it's that over delivery that you do that just creates that sense of massive value for people, isn't it? How has that gone now that you've been doing that even more, and your instructors, your trainers are doing it too? How have you noticed a difference in your retention in terms of percentages or anything like that?
Yeah, like my retention has always been pretty high. The only reason why I do tend to maybe lose clients is if they're kind of moving out of the area, or like sometimes there have been like an issue with something that has kind of happened, or whether it's with, say, myself or another trainer, or within kind of the groups that kind of come. But I think just having the staff that are just really making sure that your staff are invested in that client's result, and I think that's just giving that support to the client. Like I sort of said to one of the new girls that started with me, the most important thing at the beginning is you're not there to be there the client's friend, and you're kind of just finding that once you're wanting to help them work towards a goal, and when that you get to that sort of stage where you're kind of not comfortable, but you have this great rapport, like I'm in those initial stages of training somebody new. I think you've just got to really over deliver, and not that I fluff around, but you sort of once you kind of I've got clients I've trained for 8 years, whereas now our sessions are a little bit lighter, still keeping them accountable, kind of thing.
I mean, it's a real concern for a lot of people, and I know you had these concerns as well, isn't it, when you're giving up part of your your baby, so to speak, and you're relying on others to be able to deliver on that great service. But as you said, you've got the right people in, you've got them doing and following the right systems and procedures, and now you can be really comfortable knowing whoever they work with, they're going to get great service, and your brand and your name, which is associated with it, is going to be represented in the best light.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it can just be something as simple as them. Like I always have my clients have always got the same. They always train at the same time every week. Like nothing, nothing ever changes. And even just something so small of, if you're needing to change someone's time and you do it one too many times, it can really put you know, a bad note in that person. And we have had, a situation like that where, one of the girls that, she still works with me, but, changed someone one too many times. And unbeknownst to me, he then called me one day and just said, I want to cancel. I'm not happy. And there was nothing I could do about it, but it's, just making sure your staff know, like, that kind of professional standard. Like, I mean, I don't ever cancel on a client unless
Right.
there's obviously something, big or what have you that
You're on
kind of
your
comes up.
deathbed
So,
or something like that.
yeah.
Or, been in
Yeah.
a car accident or...
Yeah. And I think clients are kind of understanding to a certain point, but, um, it can just be that simple thing of customer service, which, can sometimes yeah, go wrong. I think it's just doing the simple things right is what, people really appreciate.
Yeah, and I think you nailed it earlier with that. You can't over communicate, can you? If you're sharing this stuff, you're staying in touch with them, you're giving them feedback after the sessions, then it's not just reliant on that session. They fall in love with the business and not any one trainer as well, because that's a big fear of a lot of people in the industry, isn't it? That, well, if I bring someone on and they start working with my clients and then I bring in new clients, well, then they could just go and do it themselves and take all the clients with them, which unfortunately does happen in some situations. But you've got the team so bought into the vision and what you're trying to achieve, and they're all working towards that, because that means more opportunity and benefits for them as well, that everyone's working or singing to the same hymn book, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it can sort of be inevitable that people are going to move on and do what have you. But I think as a business owner, I think it's just really important to still, even when you do take that step back, still being involved, still making sure that you're showing face and people, know who, it's really important for me that even though sometimes I haven't met some members, that I go to a group class that they're at and go and introduce myself and, you know, kind of meet them, because now I'm sort of more in the studio as opposed to outside now. So sometimes I don't always get to meet the people kind of straight away, but I think it's kind of really important that clients know who you are. And
which is a hard one, isn't it? Because again, that's it's really exciting to hear you say that there's some clients you don't know, but there's also for some people fear associated with that as well, because what's happening with them, are they getting looked after? And I think that's what's been so obvious to us watching you from a coaching perspective, is that even though the business has grown considerably, and clearly not just in client numbers but in revenue as well, and you guys are busy and your trainers have got more hours, and everyone, the clients are loving it because there's still that over delivery. It hasn't been watered down, the busier you've got, because you've got those systems in place now that have been able to make sure that happens across the board. And that must make you feel great as well, knowing that, well, you don't even need to be involved in the process. You haven't met the client. Someone else has taken them through the sales process. They've got them signed up into whatever program they need, and then they're getting really well looked after. And it's not that they forget you, because they do know who you are, because you've reached out that way. But that must help you to sleep well at night, I imagine.
Oh yeah, I mean, my thing is, I always want to kind of meet the people. Like, I don't want to sort of be, I know that when I went on maternity leave, there was people that I was signing up without, sort of being there. It was all kind of on the phone and them going to sort of trial sessions and things like that. And when I kind of came back, I sort of felt like I wasn't coming into my own workspace, because there was a few new members that, didn't know who I was and weren't used to say how I would normally train people. And, but I just think it's really important to kind of know who everybody, at least meet them, and and being in touch with everybody and checking in and seeing how they're enjoying their training and things like that. So I think that's really important.
It's very powerful, isn't it? Still showing them how much you want to meet them and that you care about them. It's not just, well, I've got your money now and you can deal with someone else. It's that's really significant. I I want to appreciate your time here, and I know you've got some quality time with your little one as well. But what would you say to others who, they're in a situation where they're either just starting in their business, or they've been going for a while like you had, and they really aren't getting to where they want to be? What would your advice be to them, Jess?
Um, so I guess like for me, my kind of journey, I guess like I did start in a gym working for somebody and getting to understand how, like, I mean, a lot of the systems that I'm learning, or doing with NPE, I had a little bit of experience on with my first PT role, and just kind of understanding what, getting that experience and building up that, client base of, I think my thing is, I've worked at sort of two different gyms in the area and got to know a lot of people in the community. So that's kind of a big thing, is just trying to build that, you know, kind of, reputation for yourself as as a trainer first. So yeah, I was kind of in gyms for about 4 or 5 years before I went out on my own. And I mean, I would probably say don't be afraid to kind of start small, and then, because I feel like for me that's sort of been yeah the best thing that I've done, sort of starting with, say, low overheads, as opposed to, I couldn't imagine like, kind of opening a brand new space and not having any members or a client base and things like that to build from. So things like that, and just not be afraid to kind of just get out there and just do everything, and make relationships with, whether it's, say, like a Lululemon, or, a like-minded businesses in the community, that want to see you grow and kind of work, having a reciprocal kind of arrangement, which is what I kind of did, and that really helped get my name out there when I sort of started my business. And and then, just kind of keep pushing away, like, keep plugging away, because, it does, you sort of get to that sort of 2-3 years in business, and you feel like, you're kind of in this like ground where you're not really moving. But my thing would be to just keep going. And, I mean, now I wouldn't look back. And it's the greatest sort of decision I've ever made. But I think, don't be afraid to go and get experience working with other people, and sort of see what other businesses do, and, and then really kind of let that vision of what you would want a fitness business to be kind of shaping what your business is, or what you want it to be.
That's great advice. And I know there's lots of people who are stuck, so to speak, and they're just treading water and not really moving forward, or not really moving backwards. Although, as we know, you're moving in one direction, we're not ever staying still. That's awesome. Well, look, it's been phenomenal to see your growth, since February, for you to have achieved what you have. Especially, I mean, that's outstanding, adding that 250,000 in yearly revenue to the business model, whilst we've gone through the worst pandemic to hit the industry ever, arguably. That's really significant. And I love the fact that you're now able to have your weekends and spend quality time with your daughter, and obviously, your husband as well. And just the fact that you've achieved some of those goals you set in a really short space of time. And the other thing too, I mean, there's so many people who really need help, as you mentioned earlier. The gyms are closing around them. Those that did put or had a break have realised, well, this is horrible. I feel terrible now. The mental health issues that are all popping up everywhere with isolation and all of that comes with it. I mean, it's an amazing community service that you're delivering, and you really are changing lives every day, Jess. So well done, and congratulations on your success.
Yeah, thank you. No, thank you guys for all your support, and I just really enjoy being a part of the community. And I think just having that accountability, especially as a business owner, you can sort of slacken off a little bit, but no, it's really good. And to just have that support to help you grow to what you want to do.
Well, I love it. We're going to keep working on developing you into an even stronger leader, so that you're able to take the business, because I know you've got new goals and dreams now, and much bigger goals, which is really exciting. So watch this space to any of you that are listening or watching to this, because, yeah, Jess is going places. So, but right now, I will let you have your quality time with your daughter back. Thank you so much for jumping onto the podcast with us, Jess, and we'll speak to you again very soon.
No worries. Thanks, Rick.
All right, take care.